I always like to start off with two statements. The first one is we are here for Bible study, which means it's designed to be an interaction. It's not a sermon. And our goal is to extrapolate what the scripture is actually talking about. And although it's Old Testament, how can we use the principles and strategies to help us be better servants of God today? Is that all right? I ask that you do the time. You can ask me, and once I'm done with the study, you can ask me any and all questions about the Bible. But I ask that while we're in formal Bible study, please keep your questions in context of the lesson. Is that fair? All right, let us begin. Where do we leave off at? Remember, Laban was heading back home, right? But then, did I say Laban? No, Jacob was heading back home. Seeing who's listening. That was I messed up though. But Laban's men had told him, he's taking some of your stuff. And actually, who had actually taken something that Laban didn't know about? Rachel. That's exactly right. And they had, as my grandfather used to say, they moseyed on down the road. And then now here come Laban after him. And it's interesting because God didn't just talk to Jacob, he spoke to Laban too. And let's see what he tells him. And we're going to see it here. Laban is saying this himself. We're in Genesis 31, verse 29. It says, "It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt." This is Laban talking to Jacob, to do you hurt. "But the God of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad." Now, if he does do something, he's in the wrong, isn't he? And when you look at this in the Hebrew too, he wasn't supposed to say anything to him, really. So he's already in the wrong. But look at God looking after his people. Isn't that beautiful? Let's see what happens. Verse 30. "And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my goods?" I'm sorry, I stolen my, thank you, Daryl. Had stolen my gods. What is he referencing though? Yes, Daryl. So now we see, although they're kinfolk, they didn't have the same values in the God they worship, did they? Because, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, when Laban talked to, when he approached Jacob, he said, "But the God of your father."
He didn't say the God that our family worships. That's exactly right. He didn't say that at all. So it's good that Laban. Anybody remember? Did Abraham's father worship the one true God? No, he didn't. That's why God told him to do what? Get ye out of there, because he worshiped a multitude of false gods. Now let's see what happened. He's saying, "You stole some of my gods." Verse 31. "And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure, or suppose, thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy goods, let him not live. Before our brethren, discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them." See, I'm forever impressed with Jacob. Jacob is still trying to be fair. He could have said, "Man, we didn't take any of your stuff. What are you doing? You're just upset at me." He didn't say nothing like that. He said, "Well, if somebody of mine stole from you and you know who it is and you can get the items, then may that person not live, because what they did was wrong." Is that not true? Powerful. Now, we know who Rachel was to Laban, right? Who was she? Daughter. Now, you ever heard the phrase, you got to think before you open your mouth? Let's, let's see what happened. Because this is not Jacob's fault. Verse 33. And Laban went unto Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the two maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then went he out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. You think she's going to get away with this? You know, we have to be careful when we call upon God to help us out, and then we do something like this. What do we expect? You see why it's so important to be consistent with God? I remember I said that one time, and I want you all to answer this. A brother said, well, we still have the flesh. We still have the nature to sin. And he's right, but what has God provided in that case? Y'all follow my question? We need to be consistent, obedient with God. But those times when we sin, what can we do? Or are we condemned after we sin? That's exactly, his Christ's blood still flows. Remember in First John is written to the world or to Christians? To Christians. And he says, and even if we do, he's not talking to the world, he's talking to us Christians. We have an advocate with the Father. And it goes on talking about how Christ's blood still flows. So God has set it up for us to remain perfect in him. He shows us how to get right back in his good graces. Now, you don't think Rachel saw them going through checking everything? She went to her sister first, to her sister's tent. At what point didn't she have a chance to say, you know what, I'm wrong. Let me give these back to and it's her father. Let me give these back to my father. She was upset because she felt they should have had an inheritance. Well, why didn't she wake him up and ask him, as opposed to just taking it? Does that make sense? What can we learn from this, if anything? How can this help? How can this serve us being God's servants today? I like to often say, never let sin multiply. One of the examples I use, remember David sinned with Bathsheba? You can trace that all the way back to quite a few sins that he did prior to the sin. The first thing is David stayed back when his men went out to war. God would have him to be leading his men, but he stayed back. And because of that, he went out on the rooftop, and guess who he saw bathing? Bathsheba. Now, did he have to stand there and look? He could have went back in and said, oh, and he even then could have went, say, let me go to my men now. He stayed there. Then he sent for Bathsheba. And then we know the G-rated, he lay, or he knew Bathsheba. At what point do you say, this is not what God would have me to do, and let me correct this? Now we know on even had Uriah the Hittite killed. All that. At what point do you stop, or you're gonna let this get the best of you? You ever see in the cartoons when they take a little snowball and they roll it down the hill, and the more it rolls down, it starts getting big, big, big. That's kind of what happens when we get into sin and we let sin control us. Did I see your hand, Brother Lopez?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a comparison.
Yes.
Between the Israelites when they left Egypt, they took in their minds, in their hearts, the gods that they learned from
The Egyptians.
even immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
We know what happened to them. So if we compare with the action of Rachel, to me, she's giving too much value to those gods.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll look at both of them. Now, even if they had all these solid gold images when they came out of Egypt, when they realized that Pharaoh and these chariots were coming after them, and that's something that I wish I have a sound. I didn't bring the slide with me, but when oh no, I'm good. When Pharaoh's chariots were you okay? Oh, thank you, JV. When the when Pharaoh's chariots were coming at you, that was an incredible sound. It was enough to make you say, I give up. And that was the main purpose of it. But then they Moses took them out to where all they could see was Red Sea. So you know what the comments were? Why didn't you just leave us back in Egypt? They got plenty of graves back there. Why bring us out here? Those God images that they had, why didn't they plead on those God images? But you know what Moses said, and I'm talking in English, stand by and see the salvation of the Lord, the one true God. Now water opened up, and they flat out said, these pharaohs that you see coming now, you will not see ever again. I don't know about you all. I don't care if I worship 10,000 gods. After I saw that, it's like, wait a minute, this is the God I need to pay attention to. And you would think that would carry, because what's great about the Israeli households, and they do it to this day, they know their history. You're supposed to teach it to your children. And it says from sun up to sundown. Now it's a shame they don't recognize the scriptures that pertain to Christ, but nonetheless, in this story, they should know, okay, the one true God. They should not be caught up in images of other gods. Does that make sense? Now, let's see. Go ahead, Sister Lopez. Yes. Yes, she did. Yes, it's wrong. Hmm. Yes. Hmm. You know what? I love how you know what Isaiah calls lies. He says it's like getting caught up in a spider web. Anybody ever done any work with spiders? And I use our work loosely because when I was a kid, around where we lived, there was always a lot of thick spider webs. And I was fascinated by it because you would see the webs all out here and you trail them back, and it was a hole, Brother Lopez. And of course, that's what a spider was. And I wanted to see the spider. It's amazing I'm not a veterinarian today because I'm fascinated by animals. So what I would do, I would catch a little ants, get them, and I would toss them in the web. And no matter how high I tossed them in the web, when they started, they would stick to the web. And you know, as soft as it came across, the spider came out. And guess what it did? Went up to where the ant was, put another web around him, and took it back. And I understood what Isaiah meant because lies, when you start telling them, then you got to tell another lie. You got to tell another lie to cover each one. And then you got to remember all the ones you said so you can make sure they match up. It's like being caught up in a web. The more you do it, the more you get entangled. Yes. And that's Rachel's situation. Yes, there. Mm-hmm. That was going to be my last comment. Many times when we sin, we get others in trouble as well. We're going to see that today in the sermon with Daniel in the lion's den. Watch who ends up going in the den, not the ones who originally put them in there, but their families and other people. That's why you can link that to being head of the household or being an authorized ruler. Whether you like Trump or not, we're subject to his rules, aren't we? He goes right over Congress, but that's a whole nother issue. But I'm saying there are consequences for who's allowed to be in power. Did I see another hand? Thank you, Daryl, for that. We good? Let's see if Rachel does the right thing. Verse 36. I'm sorry, 35. And she said to her father, let it not displease my Lord that I cannot rise up before thee. Now, why do you think she's saying that right now? Because remember, she's still up on the camel. Why do you think she's saying that? Daryl. That's right. It's up under her saddle, if you would. It says, for the custom of women is upon me. No, that's not what it is. And he searched, but found not the images. So do you think she moved them? Verse 36. And Jacob was wroth and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin? That thou hadst so hotly pursued after me. In verse 37, whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? See it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may also judge betwixt us both. What do you think Laban is going to do? Now, it's safe to say he is going to be between, as they say, a rock and a hard place, because it is his daughter. And he's trying to, it looks like he's trying to take it out on Jacob. But let's see. Verse 37. Verse 39. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. He's reminding him, and this is kind of a good strategy too. He's reminding him, even if I did take something, look at how I grew your little home economy. Is that not true? Laban had a whole lot more due to the work of Jacob than he had before Jacob came. And then he tricked him into working 20, 21 years. So, as the old phrase goes, who's zooming who? But let's see if he comes into, remember what God told him now. 39. That which was torn of beasts, I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it, of my hand, this thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. And 41, thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy two daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Now, is he making any of this up? Or is he complaining? He's just stating what happened. When you can live honestly in front of the Lord working for somebody, you don't have to get upset. You can just state, this is what I've done, thanks to God. And it's blessed your household. Isn't that a powerful place to be? You don't have to sit back and argue, well, I think you did this, or you think I did this. Let me tell you what I did and how it benefited you and not me. That's a servant of God. Questions, comments? Can we learn anything from that? I heard a yes. Say again. I didn't hear you, Brother Lopez.
I would like to get a copy of the contract.
Oh, yes. For those on Zoom, Brother Lopez said he'd like to get a copy of their contract. Have you, and this is, I often say this, and some people find it hard to take, but have you ever had a supervisor or a boss over you that kind of gave you a hard time? Well, I heard a lot of amens. Boy, I took on a philosophy, and my philosophy is, now they're not going to abuse me. Abuse is a whole nother thing. But if they tell me to do something and somebody else is supposed to do it, if I can do it, I'll do it. And I'll do it with a smiling face too, just to show them. Now that requires some thick skin. That requires going through stuff. And I've been through things. But I tell you, there's nothing like when that boss gets in trouble and then they're questioning you and you tell them, well, I mopped the floors over there. What time you mop the floors? 7 o'clock. You're supposed to be on break at 7 o'clock. Well, I was told to mop the floor. Who are they looking at now? The person who told me to mop the floor, which was ding, 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 ding. The man over here who should have got who he was supposed to mop the floor. Numerous situations where I went above and beyond just to not keep any hate and discontent. I did it as unto the Lord. If I could do it, if you're going to tell me to, unplug this bomb or deactivate this bomb, I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to say I'm not trained on how to do that. But if I can do it, I do it because I want to stand in front of my God with a clear conscience. You know how in when you sign your before if let's say if you're going for a new job, there's a piece they put in there now. They'll list all your duties, then they'll say something like, and any other duties told to do so. Anybody familiar with that? It's a common thing now, so it's a catch-all now. So that's why if I can do it, I'll do it. But now if something comes out, let's just say he said, no, I want you to do it. And then it's not done right. And then the big boss comes in, say, who did this? I did. Well, you did this wrong. Well, sir, I haven't had any training on this. Well, did you tell your supervisor? 3 times. And that's the truth. Because you know who knew how to do it? The supervisor. But it keeps me clear and keeps me honest in the sight of God. It's easy to say, man, you ain't got to do all that work. That's easy to say. But then it can put you in a corner. Does that make sense? Is that a hard pill to swallow, so to speak? It is. But then remember, we're Christians. Is it impossible to swallow? No, it's just hard. Did we become Christians? Oh, thank you, buddy. Did we become Christians so that we could get the easy work? No, we became Christians because God has told us He's not going to put anything on us that we can't what? Say again. That's exactly right. If it's on us, we can bear it. It's just because it seems hard, do we give up too early? Oh God, why you got this on me too? And I come tomorrow and he got something else, and next day, God has said you can handle it. Are you going to listen to what the scriptures say, 1 Corinthians 10:13? Or are you going to just lean into the flesh? Something for us to think about. Because it's not necessarily an easy road. We're going to see where it goes with Jacob, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an easy road for Jacob. But it's a road before Christ. Last Sunday, we did the 3 Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace. You think that was an easy thing? It would have been so easy to say, man, this furnace is really burning hard. Whew. I think God understands if we bow down real quick. That's so easy to say. But they're giving homage to another god by doing that, worshiping Nebuchadnezzar. They said, no, even if our God doesn't save us out of this, they just wanted to be in God. We're still not going to bow down. Do we have that kind of faith? Remember, every time the plan of salvation is taught here, be it through a sermon or through a Sunday or Wednesday night lesson, we usually end with Revelation 2 and 10, don't we? And what does that say? Faithfully be thou unto death. Do we just use that for marching orders? Yeah, be thou faithful unto death. That's exactly what that means. Who in here has heard of John the Baptist? None of y'all? Thank you, JV. Was he faithful unto death? Yes, he was. You know what the God through the Bible says about John the Baptist? It says of those born of women. Who's born of women? All mankind. It says of those born of women, there's none greater than John the Baptist. Then it continues. That he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John the Baptist. Now, is that saying we're any better than John the Baptist? No, it's just John the Baptist was alive during the time of the church. But make no mistake, his servitude is legendary. What he was willing to do. Because it's easy to look at, oh, he had his head cut off? Oh, that's such a shame. I wish that didn't happen. Well, if God allowed it, he allowed it for a reason. And at no point did John the Baptist draw back and say, you know what, King Herod, I'm sorry. I take everything back that I said. He took it all the way to the grave. That's faithful unto death. We live in a time period where you're not having Christians, shot down in the street and everything yet. So it's kind of a different kind of conditioning for us. But make no mistake, we got to know what the scripture's saying. Be prepared to live by it. I often say Christ lived for us Christ died for us so that we could live for him. Are we prepared to do that? I personally believe that God does some miraculous things when people stand up for him. Who in here knows about Stephen before we continue on? Who was Stephen? He was stoned. He's known as the first documented in the Bible Christian martyr. You know what was amazing about him? Even in the Bible, when you read when he was stoned, and if you want an interesting study stoning. It wasn't just people taking rocks and just hitting you like when you were a little kid. No, they had sharp, big rocks. I mean, one would have just made you just give up whatever you had. And while he was being stoned, said he looked up when he saw Jesus on the right hand of God. At no point do you hear him screaming, crying. As a matter of fact, what's recorded is he said, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What human being can come up with that statement in the midst of being stoned? One who has a powerful, close relationship with God and that's pleasing to God. If you have an opportunity, get a concordance, be it online or even the old-fashioned where you got to go through and turn the pages. Look up the context of pleasing God. Whenever that term is used, boy, God really turns it out. Really. Because his strength is made perfect through our what? Through our weakness. And it's a weakness that we fully understand. It's not weakness that we can't do his work. It's weakness that we can't do his work without him. And we're willing to take it as far as we can. That's the expectation of God's people because of the God we serve. I love how Sister Lopez brought up last week. God is omniscient or all-knowing, omnipotent or all-powerful, and omnipresent, present everywhere. He's the only God that has that. That's the God, just listen to these words. That's the God that we serve. The one true God. So what should that tell us? When you go before your God, and I stress your God, because we're going to see that in the sermon today, make it personal. When I go before my God, what did Psalms 23 say? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Notice he didn't say I should not want. He says I shall. It was absolute. Because he knew the God that he worshiped was with him, even in the midst of the circumstance of the challenge. Can we be that resolute? Now, am I saying it's easy? No, I'm saying it's easier once you start. And it's easier if you got, I like to call Stephanie's my wife, but she's my accountability buddy too. When I tell her I plan on doing this, she follows up with me. Because that's so important that we keep our word to God. Should we set our goals in God? Why is that? I'll give you a clue. All things work together for those who love God and those who are called according to his. So we have to have our goals in alignment with this purpose. If not, we could roll around and do anything. That's why it's so important. That's why we have to be so in line with God's purpose. You know what's powerful about that? This is how good God makes it. When we fall and we fall hard and we don't quite know what to pray for, you know what that same chapter, Romans 8 says? The Holy Spirit can intercede for us. In other words, it prays for us to God based upon God's will. So you can't pray for the wrong thing if the Holy Spirit is praying for you. I tell people I'm in the process of memorizing the entire Romans chapter 8. It is just too good. It's a bunch of stuff in there for us. Have you ever had something and didn't know it, but yet you needed it? I remember I had an old truck years ago that my mom gave me, and I needed to put some coolant in it because it was getting hot. And I was coming from a good distance, Sister Lopez. But I was like, I can make it. I can make it that far. Then I got 2 exits down from my house. See the steam. Shh. I was like, oh. So I wanted to put the hood. I had to put a stick under the hood because it was an old hood. So I went to the back and pulled the hood, what do you call the flap in the back down. Coolant sitting right in there. All I had to do was just stop and put the coolant in. You let it cool down. But I had it. You know what God has given us? Do we use our grace enough? Do we use our faith enough? Do we use our love enough? You see, often we talk about these as like kind of intangible things, but these are like tools in our toolkit that when the time comes, okay, I need to use this. Okay, I'm getting scared. Okay, let me use some faith. Okay, this person made me really, really mad. Let me pull out some forgiveness. And then let me extend some grace. We're supposed to use these, not just have the right answer in Bible class. Does that make sense? And have you ever seen somebody who has some tools, like some handyman tools, and doesn't really know what they're doing? I'm one of them. Every tool in the thing. But you put a skill saw in my hand, you better go running. Zzz, it's like, oh no, too much. We have to get in the habit of using the tools that God has given us and recognize them. Remember the armor that Paul tells us in Ephesians? What's the shield? The shield of what? You ain't got your superhero gear? The shield of faith. In other words, that's supposed to protect us from the fiery darts of the wicked. So he says. He says the helmet of what? Salvation. Because that's where that's the brain housing group, as we say in the Marine Corps. That's where you got to know that before you go forward fighting. If not, what are you fighting for? Feet shod with the preparation of what? Gospel of peace. Because we got to get out and spread the gospel. Belt of what? Girded, the belt of what? That's right, truth. Because everything notice everything hangs from the belt of truth. Because you have to come from truth. And of course, the blank of the Spirit. What is that? Sword, which is the Bible. See, they're spoken about metaphorically, but these are the tools God has given us to use. We have to use them like they're real. The world may not understand it, but it's pleasing to God, and we should know exactly how to use them. Does that make sense? Let us continue here. Verse 40. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost of the night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. Now he's letting Laban know not only did he prosper his agriculture, his economy, if you would, it wasn't an easy thing either. He had some sleepless nights and he had to fight frost, but he still did it. Did he complain to Laban? No, he did not, because he trusted in his God. Verse 41. Thus have I been, we're down to 42. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham. Here we go. The fear of Isaac had been with me. Surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands and rebuked thee yesterday night. We're going to stop right there, but I want to know, what can we get out of that before we pick up Lord's Will on Wednesday? What can we get out of what he just said? And that was a perfect way to end, too. What can we get out of that? He said what he went through, right? But how did he end? He didn't say, Laban, I came near the door at night 3 times saying I was cold, I was freezing, and you didn't do anything. No. He said, but the God of his father and of Isaac, he knew he was with him. In other words, as long as he knew he was with God, he was all right. I think we can learn something from that. You may have times when you're looking for a job and the right job isn't coming. And I love talking to people then, because, when we ask people, how you doing? Usually what we don't consider is how we are in our relationship with God. You say, I'm down, man, things are going horrible. I lost my job, lost my house, and those are horrible things. I just love to say, how is your relationship with God? And there's always a long pause. Why is that? That should be the first thing. The song that gets me every time? It is well with my soul. Because if it's well with your soul, you can make it through it, and those days are going to come. You know what Solomon called different days? Calls them seasons. Seasons change, don't they? Especially if you live in the Midwest, like you guys are going to Illinois, you're going to see some multicolored trees during autumn time. beautiful, then you're going to see that dreaded snow. Well, it's not dreaded at the beginning because it's beautiful. You got to get out and drive and people slamming into you. It's like, oh, man. Then you got that nice spring. It's like, oh, you can feel it. And then you got the summer coming. It's a cycle. And such is the cycle for man. We're going to have some good days. We're going to have some bad days. But that joy should be ever present because of who we know we belong to, and we know he can get us through this. That was the second bell, wasn't it? They probably did it for me. That's the third bell. Thank you all. Let us pray.